你好，
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 你好。
We can find more and more Chinese elements in New York City. Chinese culture has become a very important part of New York culture. Thus, where can we find such amazing Chinese elements? What about your perspectives?
I love Chinese food.
Shopping in Chinatown. I have learned many Chinese characters.
I like Chinese beautiful girls.
Me too. I like.
Yes, in conclusion, we can get two different types of Chinese elements, the verbal elements and the virtual elements. However, these virtual elements, such as advertisement, are not characteristic, so let's talk about verbal elements. Well, personally, I'm fond of the wonderful Chinese language, which is very characteristic and unique. Many of my friends are very interested in Chinese, and some have learned Chinese for a long time.
Cool.
Sounds great.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Confucius Institutes are non-profit public institutions supported by China's government that aim to promote Chinese language and culture, support local Chinese teaching internationally, and facilitate cultural exchanges. Founded in 2004, there are over 700 institutes throughout the world, with 81 in 48 states in the US and 8 institutes affiliated to the universities in New York State. Confucius Institutes attract thousands of non-native Chinese people all around the world to learn Chinese language and culture. It promotes the spreading of Chinese culture and cross-cultural communication on the global stage.
China, as you may know, is becoming a very important economic power in the world.
I won't even say a sleeping giant, it already is a giant.
And the purpose of the Confucius Institute is to support the teaching of Chinese language and culture.
你好，我叫毕梦天，我住在新泽西，我15岁，我是第二个年级的学生。Learning at the institute, you're surrounded by teachers and students that have the same level of interest, Chinese, that you do, and I think that really makes a difference, especially in a classroom setting.
The best tools out there is this Confucius Institute.
For our students, they will have a head start because they will have a familiarity and use of Chinese language, have traveled to China. That makes them, I would say, more employable and have a broader experience.
You know, China is becoming richer and richer. It's like becoming a new hot topic. So everybody think if they wanted to be international, intellectual, so you have to learn a language that's becoming more and more popular. Grad students, and they're really, really smart and hardworking. Therefore, they can talk about issues in China, they have very special perspectives on a lot of social and economical issues. They're hardworking and driven. They are very motivated, and they're genuinely interested in Chinese. They're not forced to take Chinese. Chinese is difficult. You can choose something easier, but they wanted to learn Chinese. And most of the people are motivated, so they will take every chance they have. I think 80% of the students that I taught, they are very outgoing. At least they try to be when they learn Chinese. So they would try to bring up topics and answer questions during the class. And then I don't think introvert people can really learn a foreign language very well. At least they speak.
我是豆豆，会说一点中文。
Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm doing an interview for Lenny. I'm an American-born Chinese.
There's two major experiences that happened while I was there, both that ended well only because I knew Chinese. First was when I went to a marketplace. And as we all know, in Beijing, basically anywhere in China, you go to the market, you have to argue, you have to barter to get the best price.
Yeah.
I start out in English, and as such, they think I'm the dumb tourist. I had no idea what prices were. I'm really willing to overpay for everything. So I kind of talk in English, get a really bad price, and then as soon as I think I get to the end, I'd immediately switch over to Mandarin and start yelling at them in Mandarin Chinese. And they kind of get taken aback for a second and immediately cut the price by like 3 to 4 times. And I end up getting a bunch of really, really great shirts, coats, some jerseys from my local hockey team and football team from my town, all for these insane prices because I managed to turn the tables and actually argue in Chinese. And that was one of the most fulfilling experiences I had because it really showed like a monetary impact. Like what the work I'd done is saving me money. I actually got these awesome rewards for doing that. And then in addition to that, also while I was in Beijing, I was in a, I believe it was some sort of old hotel. I was visiting somebody while I was there. And we were going up the elevator to the top floor. The elevator got stuck between 2 floors. This and the doors wouldn't open. So what happened is we were pressing the call button, and the people on the call button didn't speak English. So the girl I was there with couldn't speak Chinese really at all, and I could barely speak it. So I had to kind of converse and try to make my way through the conversation to tell them we're stuck in this elevator, please get help, please get help. Eventually we managed to get the idea through to the point where it kind of clicked in their mind, they're like, oh. And they called in the authorities to open up the elevator for us. So not only did I get really nice stuff at the market because I learned Chinese, but I also got myself out of a stuck elevator that could have ended really badly because I managed to make my way through an emergency situation using my Mandarin Chinese. So some really great actual real-world impacts right off the bat as soon as I learned it.
Okay.
The most difficult part of learning the language, I guess, was the writing for me.
The biggest problems I would have is having to learn these new characters. It's thousands upon thousands of characters, something that American students just have never been exposed to before, which is a whole new set of problems. I really enjoyed it, which is the reason I took the language. On top of that, learning to speak in a different grammar structure, having nouns and verbs all switched around or non-existent, is incredibly difficult.
I don't really use it in work or every day, but just the way I interact with other people, and especially with other Chinese people, I feel like I can connect better if I use... I like the sound, I like hearing the language also, and I guess innately I feel like they would probably feel comfortable hearing it also, especially if they're a native speaker.
Chinese has actually stuck with me really well throughout my daily life. At school, I study economics as well as a couple other areas. And because of that, I'm going into the world of finance and banking. And as we all know, finance and banking is one of those jobs that's worldwide, it's completely international. And as such, during every single one of my interviews, I work on Wall Street now, they ask me about my experience in China because every company I interviewed with is trying to move into China and banking in China. So because of that, my skills and experience with China are a huge asset to these companies. And because of that, also, they're interested in using me as a link to China, almost. As someone who, if need be, can go over there, can speak with the locals, can understand the local business practices and how that works, which not only creates incredible job opportunities for myself, but also great opportunities for the company.
对面的女孩看我来，看我来，看我来，激烈的表演很精彩，起步要叫让步了不在。
我喜欢北京烤鸭，我喜欢故宫，what else？
我一天忘了很多中文，所以我想学多一点。
你好，我想问一下。